welcome back to Tiny T Gaming. This is my video on Warhammer 40,000 Dawn of War 4. What I'm hoping we get when and if the game is ever announced or released, but mainly what I think the fan base would really like to see and the things they should definitely improve upon and learn upon from the previous Dawn of War games in the series. So before I get into it though, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and really helps get that message out there, because if all you ever get on YouTube is, or social media, whatever, is people just saying that they're not really asking for much from the games, they just wait and see, and then they complain about the games that come out. I feel that the developers never really listen, and they will just turn out something that, whilst it might be a bit of a hit and might be well liked, it might not really be lore accurate, or it might not be really what the fan base are wanting. Obviously this is just my opinion, but I am coming from a point of being a huge Warhammer 40,000 fan. I am a big enjoyer of the franchise, and I really enjoy the things happening with the lore. Gilliman coming back, Lionel Johnson coming back, or back now, and the things they can really do with that. So without further ado, I'm just going to get into it. So with Dawn of War 4, firstly, they really need to learn from the up and down performance of the previous games. They need to learn from the fact that Dawn of War 3 was not a hit, and it wasn't a hit for a few reasons. It's like they took the good things from Dawn of War 1 and the good things from Dawn of War 2 and completely mugged it off, which was a real shame. And then it was a very quick campaign, and it was just not memorable, and then the online was very average. So firstly, campaign for a Dawn of War 4 game. Yes, I do think they should have Primaris Marines in. No, I don't think it should be Blood Ravens. Why? Well, the Blood Ravens are an interesting enough chapter created for that franchise within the Warhammer 40,000 sphere. And then they had some books about them, and that was enjoyable. But moving on from that, there's so many other chapters and other factions that you can really use. I think that they could use any other Space Marine chapter. It doesn't have to be one of the founding chapters or even the second founding chapters, but there's some well-known chapters out there that you could really use. And I'm not going to say, even though I'd love to just say, yeah, do everything about the Carcharodon Astra or whatever, but you could really do it about like White Consoles, or a chapter that's been really hurt post opening of the Great Rift, and then have it about the storyline of a chapter that's on the brink but is fighting back, gets Primaris reinforcements, etc. You can really tie into all of the current lore changes and really get something out of that. With the combat itself, I think having the actual full squads of 10 Space Marines makes sense, that you had in the first game. Whilst it was a really enjoyable game, Dawn of War 2, I didn't really like that they had these squads of 3 Space Marines or Scouts or whatever, and then that was it. I think that it should be representative of the actual lore and the game you're playing. Yeah, obviously, if your company or your faction has taken casualties, you don't just get to replace them so easily every single time. So yeah, you might have depleted squads, but the default will be an intercessor squad or old money tactical squad of 10 Astartes, whatever. I think it's great that all the games seem to always include the campaign's multiple factions. It's like the Eldar are involved, and then Chaos is always involved. I think whilst that's good because it includes a lot of factions, and then you have for the skirmish modes, and then the online you get to play different factions, that's fine. But I think, or different campaigns, I think that's great. But the different campaigns don't need to be tied in. I understand that Warhammer 40,000 as a setting constantly has different factions, or like just jumping in on the medley, but if you're playing as, for example, a Black Templars crusade against the Orcs, have it be against the Orcs and go in depth on their lore the campaign itself, the Crusade, whatever. I'm not saying it should be about Black Templars, but that's just a random example. I think there's so much you can use within the post Great Rift opening setting that they could really milk it for what it's worth. I think having the capture points is good. I think that was really enjoyable. And then the real-time strategy itself of building a base, that's all good as well, like really enjoyable. But I think in a more modern game, having it actually make sense would be much more viable instead of just having random Astartes being pumped out like a conveyor belt as soon as you take any casualties. Have it so that you're a Space Marine chapter that's been depleted, they're on the run, etc. They set up a new chapter homeworld or something along those lines, so you're not just building a random camp each time, you're building the actual fortress monastery or whatever. I think have it actually in depth with good micromanagement, good real-time strategy, and then good squad tactics, so suppressing the enemy like you had in Dawn of War 2, where you could be suppressed by heavy weapons and then you'd have to flank, and then the longer your squads were in that arc of fire, the longer the more likely they were to take a casualty, the more damage they took, etc. You could really mix some of the best elements from the previous games and have something that's really good. And then with the online itself, I think you could definitely do something similar where you're a Space Marine chapter, or you're an Orc Warg, or you're an Elder Craft World, whatever, and then you're laying claim to a small section of space, a part of the planet, and then every victory means you grow your Fortress Monastery or the faction equivalent, and then you get access to better quality troops, armour, war gear, etc. So it's an immersive experience where you are building on the fact that this is a video game set in Warhammer 40,000 and Warhammer 40,000, an all miniature war game, which is the foundation of all of these video games, is that you are building an army and you are making it your idea of what you want that faction to be, and you are personalising it to yourself. I think those are elements they can really double down on, and I think that would get so much interaction. Yes, I am well aware that it would takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of interaction from the developers, and then regular maintenance and updates and add-ons, DLCs, whatever from the development team. But I think if you make a game that's worthwhile, then people will play it, and then you get a game that's worthwhile, people playing it, you make more money from it, and then you have the profit margins to have this constant updating and this community support, which a lot of games do lack. I mean, I know that's so old now, but you couldn't just go online and play a public server of Dawn of War 2 online. It's so dead. And then you would, it's just I know it's an older game, but it's just an example really. But I think that they can really, really double down on the lore that they've pumped out. They can really get into it on a random chapter. I think the Blood Ravens have had their day, and I personally find them quite boring. I think there's so many other niche chapters out there, or even Codex compliant chapters that might be just like a standard template. Space Marine chapter, basically Ultramarines and another colour of armour, but then they could be personalised by a resurgent franchise of gaming, and then they can be the new poster boys for the video game of Dawn of War, instead of just having the red armoured Blood Ravens with Gabriel Angelos running around. And I think that chapter's fleshed out, they're a recognised chapter, and that's for well and good. It's time to give it to someone else now. I think that if it has Warhammer 40,000 on it, people will play it. And I think if you make it good enough, people will look past the errors and they will make the most of the game that you've made in the setting they enjoy, regardless of maybe not enjoying every single element of that game. If it is an enjoyable pastime that people can sink their teeth into, then they will make the most of it. And I think that's what some game developers now are missing. So I do think that is something that can be really focused upon. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As I said earlier, please like and subscribe to the channel. Really helps it grow, gets that sort of message out there. But thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.